Okay, so recently I've noticed a trend that has been tearing through one of my favorite forms of media, stand-up comedy. And that's cancel culture. And before we begin, no, this won't be a video with me bashing cancel culture, because I feel like that joke has been played out extensively on the internet with all the memes. Yeah. But what I hope to show today is that stand-up comedy is an art form, and it should be viewed as such. From crafting a joke to the delivery, stand-up comedy takes a lot of talent. I'm going to show types of comedy, why they work, and explain why some of the biggest names in comedy have made a career out of offending people, and why it's okay. Now, I'm not saying offending people for the sake of offending people is okay. But stick around, and hopefully at the end of this video, I hope you see my perspective on this hot button issue. This is my opinion on stand-up comedy. It's no secret, some comedians are really bad people. For a while, my favorite stand-up comedian was Louis C.K., but we all know what happened there. However, there are a lot of comedians who are under fire for their jokes, and that's where I have a problem. First of all, it's just that, a joke. Joe Rogan explains this in his special Rocky Mountain High.
I lie a lot on stage, I want to point that out. This is a very important part of my act. If I say some and you're like, I don't agree with that, guess what? I don't agree with it either, all right? There's a lot of things I say I don't really mean. I'll tell you the truth, but if a lie's funnier than the truth, I go with that. You know why? Because it's a comedy show.
And that leads perfectly to my first point, why jokes work. Like I mentioned before, stand-up comedy is an art form. A common misconception I see all the time is that comedy is easy, and that it takes no skill. When most people think of comedy, they see a little formula. The setup, plus the description, plus the punchline, equals laughs. And this is a great foundation for comedy. Some legendary comedians use this to great effect, like Jay Leno.
Now here's a story you may have heard. IKEA opened a superstore in Thailand. And the hottest selling item in this IKEA superstore in Thailand is this bed called the Ridalan. But apparently the word Ridalan has a sexual connotation in Thailand. And the people of Thailand say they are shocked and offended that IKEA is selling this bed with a sexual connotation. And you know, they might have a point if the store wasn't located in Bangkok. See?
Jimmy Carr.
When I was a kid, I wanted to get a tattoo, but my parents said I had to get it somewhere that didn't matter. So I had it done in Alberta. Flooding. Flooding's pretty bad. I saw a woman on the news in a flooded front room crying. I thought, crying's not helping.
A nurse finds a rectal thermometer in her pocket and thinks, some else got my pen.
And legendary Saturday Night Live alum, Norm Macdonald.
Christy Brinkley told reporters this week that her marriage to Billy Joel was over long before their divorce. The key moment, she said, came when she realized that she was Christy Brinkley and that she was married to Billy Joel.
This is called one-liner comedy, and it's great. It's fast-paced, it keeps people engaged, and it gets a lot of laughs really quickly. But there's a whole nother level to comedy, and that's called anecdotal comedy. People like Bill Burr, John Mulaney, Joey Diaz, Dave Chappelle, and Tom Segura use this to great effect. And in my opinion, they're masters of their craft.
Or I get people who are like, oh, you speak Spanish? Yeah, I speak Spanish too. And I'm like, no, you don't. And they're like, no, I took 4 years in high school. And I'm like, yeah, I played football for 4 years in high school, and the Broncos aren't giving me a look this week, so no, you don't. Your Spanish sucks. With a capital M for mierda. Now,
in essence, anecdotal comedy is storytelling. Comedians go up on stage and tell a hilarious story. It is in essence the same as one-liner comedy, except the jokes are a lot longer, and typically by the end of the joke, the audience has forgotten the setup and the description, and the punchline catches them off guard, usually leading to a larger laugh. The final type of comedy I want to discuss is called crowd work. This is more along the lines of improv comedy, where the comic will go up on the stage and interact and talk directly with the audience, to great effect. And in my opinion, there is no better crowd work comedian than Andrew Schultz.
Is there alcohol? You got a great voice. I mean, you're gonna die from cancer soon, but until then, you got a great voice. You heard his voice, bro? That was like half Stephen Hawking, half Louis Armstrong. That was amazing. You hear that voice right there? It was like... They call me Wolfman Jack. They call you what?
Wolfman Jack.
Oh, they're being sweet. They should call you Lung Cancer Lou.
Oftentimes, Schultz can come under fire for his jokes being pretty offensive and borderline cancelable. I have some thoughts on this, but I'll let Andrew Schultz explain it.
What's that, sweetheart? You're not smart. If you were smart, you would know that's what's funny about the joke. That's the exact thing that's funny about the joke. But I think your math brain isn't creative enough to understand humor. Like, and you're probably really good at other things, but your brain, I don't think is made for it. I'll give you a chance for the rest of the show to try to laugh, but if you find yourself not laughing, just know I'm not smart enough. That's what you have to remind. I'm sure you're really good at engineering. No, you're really good at engineering, ruining other people's nights. And look, there is a place to go if you don't like humor. No, you shouldn't go to hell. Why would you go to hell? That's for funny people.
I think Schultz brings up a really good point here. Humor has a certain intellectual edge. I'll be the first person to say that comedians throughout history have been some of the smartest people in media. Legendary comics like George Carlin, Bill Burr, and Ricky Gervais have made a career on their opinions on the hypocrisy that they see in the world every day. Take, for example, this clip from the Pardon My Take podcast where Bill Burr gives his opinion on cancel culture.
I understand why the cancel culture people are doing what they're doing. Their hearts are in the right place. It's just the way that they're going about it.
The execution, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know, telling a stupid joke is a long, long ways away from taking your dick out at work. I mean, I think I could say that, right?
Yes.
So I don't know how you somehow get lumped into that, where it's just like, how could you?
Right.
In front of all those adults
Right.
who watch online porn, tell that joke.
And Burr is not alone with his thoughts. Comedians have a different view of the world, and they use this to their advantage to make the audience think and try and see the bigger picture.
I'm often asked if there's anything you shouldn't joke about, and the answer is no. There's no subject out of bounds for comedy. There's nothing you shouldn't joke about, but it depends what the joke is. I do deal in taboo subjects very often. I often, you know, expose the elephant in the room, but people often make the mistake of the target of a joke with the subject of a joke, and they're not the same. And I think as a comedian, my job isn't just to make people laugh, it's to make them think a bit. You know, I want to take the audiences to places they haven't been before. Otherwise, you know, what am I doing there? If they can do it themselves or they've heard it before. There's enough safe anodyne comedy out there, and good luck to them, but that's not what I do. They know what I do, and I'm going to do it.
Ricky Gervais is no stranger to media criticism. Same with a lot of comedians. However, they always make it clear that their job is to make people laugh. And what better way to do that than to make people think? And I think not many do that better than Indian comic Veer Das. Here are his thoughts on the issue.
Getting offended is something privileged people do. Now in the West, you've had privilege for years. You've taken taking offense to another level. Like Americans can get offended on other people's behalf. It's a very American thing. I'm offended for you. What you went through is so stressful, I'm going to take the day off. But in the West, you're very, what's the word? Woke. I want to be one of these comedians who can write woke jokes for woke people. I've tried. Do you want to hear them, yeah? Knock, knock. Well, if you need to hear the sound of somebody's voice before you let them into your apartment, what does that say about your elitist privilege, huh?
A lot of comedians have come out in defense of their craft, and there are a lot of examples of that. But the best I found is from an interview with the BBC with Trevor Noah, where he defends a joke that he made in his past.
Do you now regret some of the jokes you made? And let me give you an example. You said, my mother, black South African, was saying, get me a white guy, get me a white guy. Well, my father was white Swiss, of course he liked chocolate.
That sounds funny to me, even when you say it. Every single joke has a context. Every single joke comes from a place. The most important thing with comedy is context. I didn't deliver it like that. You're not doing my jokes justice.
Okay, all right.
What you're doing right now is the equivalent of me saying, now it's raining more than ever. I'll be here with you forever. You can always be my friend, standing under my umbrella. Ella, 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 A. I seem like a mad person right now because I'm not doing everything that was within the context of the song Umbrella by Rihanna. When you were doing comedy merely by words, I spoke it. my eyes, my voice, my connection with an audience is completely different.
If I haven't made my point clear enough in this video, I hope Trevor Noah did. As the host of The Daily Show, he deals with this censorship of comedy on a daily basis. But he, like all comedians, understands that comedy is nothing without context. And he also understands that not everybody is gonna like your jokes. That's just a part of comedy. I think that I've made my points pretty clear, but I wanna leave with another message from Ricky Gervais.
It's a nonsense to believe that some people deserve never to be offended their whole life. The great thing about freedom of speech, if an asshole is being an asshole, you've got the right to call him an asshole.
Ricky's right, and that's why his comedy is so successful. If the asshole is being an asshole, why can we not call him an asshole? If you haven't seen the interview with Trevor Noah, I really suggest you check it out. He does a great job of defending comedy, while also explaining the importance of context within the jokes that he tells. Like all comedians will say, comedy is subjective, so if you don't think it's funny, don't listen. Like I mentioned before, comedy is meant to make you think. So if a joke offends you, you should think about why it offends you, instead of just telling the world that it does offend you. As stated before, context is so important in comedy. It's important not to mix up the subject of the joke with the target of the joke. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And as always, the dude abides.